I actually drove to Yankee Stadium from my house in Connecticut, stopped in Yankee Stadium, picked up the Roger Maris bobblehead, got back in the car, didn't watch the game, got back in the car, and drove all the way down to South Carolina, or more than halfway, to Florida on my way here to get to school on time. So that's how crazy I am about getting these bobbleheads. So I'm a little bit of a psycho, just in case you haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure you will. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bobby Valentine Sports Show. And I'm your host, Frank Rampin, like always. And if you can't tell yet, we're in a little different setup this time. I actually just moved back into school. I'm back down in West Palm Beach, Florida. So I'm in my my apartment room now, not my dorm room, but a little different setup. Don't have all the pictures on the wall, but we got a nice little setup now. A little bit different. And because the NFL season is so close, we're going to get our Raiders stuff to go. So we got a little bit of both. We got some Raiders, we got some A's, we got some World Baseball Classic. We got my map of my road trip that I want to take of all the stadiums starting in Florida, going all the way around. So we got a nice little setup here. But we're going to jump right into it. Also, I got a new A's shirt, if you haven't noticed, but if you're an A's fan, you might know what this is. It's not a very happy one. It's kind of a sad one. My friend down here gave this to me yesterday. Shout out, Skadina, if you're watching this, brother. Thank you, dude. Got me the Fuji shirt, but if you know, Fuji's gone already. He only spent about half of his first MLB season with the A's, and now he's already back, or he's already gone. He's with Baltimore. Sad for A's fans because he was an exciting player. He throws 102, but I mean, he was very wild, very raw player. So hopefully he can turn it around in Baltimore and see if they can do better with him. But that makes their bullpen even more dangerous looking. So now that we'll get past that, new setup, new place. This is where we're going to be at for the next couple months. Get used to it. This is a new place. We're going to be doing baseball and football soon. A little preview with here. All right. So now we're going to get into our weekly recap, like always. And we're going to start it off with the hottest player on the planet right now. The absolute freak of nature. Something happened to this guy after the All-Star break. Something happened to this team as well after the All-Star break. Julío Rodríguez. Julío Rodríguez just had 17 hits in a 4-game span over this past week. It was the most hits ever in a 4-game span. 17 hits in 4 games. Think about that. He had 9 straight hits at one point. 9 straight hits. 9 at-bats in a row. A hit. Tied a franchise record. 4 straight 4-hit games. And one of those games obviously was a 5-hit game if you factor in the math. 4 times 4 is 16 plus 1, 17. So 4 4-hit games in a row with a 5-hit game. And he was the first player with 4+ hits in 4 consecutive games since Milt Stott in 1925, almost 100 years ago. About 98 years. He's the 13th player since 1900 with 3 straight 4-hit games. And he's the only person to do it with 4 stolen bases during this span. And during this time, his average went from 256 all the way up to 278. 22 points. It's August. What? Like, your average is not supposed to move that much in August. Like, what are we talking about? Julio is on a different planet right now. And so 17 hits in 4 games. During that same exact 4-game stretch, the New York Yankees, who we're going to talk a little bit more about in the future of this, in this episode, oh boy, they had 17 hits in those 4 games as a team. So Julío Rodríguez had the same amount of hits as the entire Yankees team for 4 games. And in those 4 games, Julio scored 5 runs himself, and the Yankees scored 4. So Julío Rodríguez by himself was a better offense than the Yankees for the entire week since last time we talked. Guys, what's going on? Wow. So Julío Rodríguez just is on an absolute tear right now, just absolutely tearing it up, ripping the cover off the baseball. And the Seattle Mariners are the hottest team in the league now. The Seattle Mariners are 8-2. They're on an 8-game winning streak, and they don't look like they're stopping at all. They're not even in the wild card hunt right now. They've put themselves into the American League West race too. And we're going to talk about that more in our standings update. But the top of the American League West right now, 3 teams are separated by 1 run. Or 1 run. 3 teams are separated by 1 game. Think about that. Texas, Houston, and Seattle all are within 1 game of each other headed into the last month of the season. That's going to be a very wild race in the American League West. It's going to be fun to watch. And then the last section of our weekly recap, we're going to go to our outfield play of the week. And last week, we had 4. Or that was 2 weeks ago, excuse me. We had 4. Cedric Mullins made his return last week. This week, we're going to have 2. Because I was a little off schedule this week, had to move into this place, had to set up the new studio. So we got 2 about the last week and a half. So we'll start it off. I'm sure everyone saw this one. TJ Friedl for the Cincinnati Reds. Young center fielder, like all the Reds, young players. So they're playing against Cleveland, and we'll pull it up right here. Ramon Laureano is up, and he's going to smoke one deep to center field. And TJ Friedl is going to sprint back to the track, to the wall, leap up, and take away a home run. Would have been the first home run that Ramon Laureano hit as a Cleveland Guardian. But TJ Friedl says, nope, absolutely not. Leaps up, yanks that thing back off the little slope they got there behind the wall in Cincinnati. Shows the ball, strikes a little pose. Oh, yeah. Beautiful play by TJ Friedl. And he's telling his boys that, I told you I had that. I told you. So great play by TJ Friedl. Robs Ramon of a homer there. But this second play, as of last night, TJ Friedl, that was the outfield play of the week. I was watching games last night upstairs here, and I saw maybe, it might have been the catch of the year. One of the greatest catches I've seen in the past year, 2 years by a center fielder. Alek Thomas, in crunch time, in the 9th inning. Paul Sewald, in a game against the Rangers last night, Paul Sewald comes in, the new Arizona Diamondback closer, who had been struggling since he left Seattle. He's still trying to find his footing over there in Arizona. But he comes in, and the first batter he faces is the top of the Texas order, Marcus Semien. And Marcus Semien has been very, very good this year, former A, Oakland guy, great player. He smokes one to right center field. I'm going to pull that up here. He rips one on a low fastball. Alek Thomas takes off on a dead sprint and lays out into a roll onto the warning track. Look at that, full extension, barely gets the glove to it, does a little roll. Look at Lourdes Gurriel's reaction. Look at Paul Sewald's reaction. Look at his teammates' reaction. Alek Thomas covered 101 feet in 5.3 seconds on that play. 30.2 max sprint speed, which, if you're not sure, that's elite. Very elite. But let's look back at this one more time. Look how much ground he covers here. Great swing by Marcus Semien. He gets an unbelievable jump in 101 feet in just over 5 seconds. Holy crap. What a play. And his teammates are just, the reactions from the announcers, the teammates, everybody. After this play happened, I screamed. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable catch by Alek Thomas. So there it is, our 2 outfield plays of the week for the last week and a half of baseball that I've missed. And so now we're going to jump into our Game of the Week segment. And honestly, I watch a lot of baseball. I'm always onto it. I'm trying to get as much as I can into this show. Love to talk baseball. I can do it forever. I can do it for hours. I haven't been able to watch as much as I'd like because I've been moving down to Florida. I had to drive all the way down. And if you haven't noticed, I got another bobblehead here. Actually, I got 2. You haven't seen the Edwin Diaz yet. I got the trumpet Edwin Diaz. That was when I was back home. And I got this Roger Maris. I actually drove to Yankee Stadium from my house in Connecticut, stopped in Yankee Stadium, picked up the Roger Maris bobblehead, got back in the car, didn't watch the game, got back in the car, and drove all the way down to South Carolina, or more than halfway, to Florida on my way here to get to school on time. So that's how crazy I am about getting these bobbleheads. So I'm a little bit of a psycho, just in case you haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure you will eventually. So we're going to get into our Game of the Week. And like I was saying, I haven't been able to watch as much baseball as I liked. So last night, I got to watch a good amount. And what a game I saw between the San Francisco Giants and the Philadelphia Phillies last night at Citizens Bank Park. We're just going to jump right into it. Very wild finish. But we're going to jump in. I think it was the top of the first inning. Wilmer Flores comes up with the runners on first and third. Nobody out here. And he's going to smoke one. Bryson Stott makes an unbelievable diving play up the middle. Backhanded play. Flips to Trey Turner at second to get the force. But Wilmer beats it out at first. So an RBI fielder's choice to make it 1-0 San Francisco in the top of the first inning. And Kyle Harrison, rookie left-hander for San Francisco, is making his first career start here. And he is greeted very rudely by Kyle Schwarber as it works him for a 3-2 count. First batter he faces in the bigs and rips one down the right field line for a leadoff double. But Kyle Harrison's able to get his first 2 career strikeouts on the next 2 batters, as he's able to retire Trey Turner for his first career strikeout and then Nick Castellanos for his second. But that that success didn't last too long. He didn't just settle in right there because the next batter was former National League MVP Bryce Harper. And Bryce Harper is going to take a slider from Kyle Harrison, and he's going to absolutely smoke it into the right center field gap. That's going to get over the wall into the first row. 2-run home run, 2-1 Phils after 1. So the rookie Kyle Harrison, after getting his first 2 strikeouts, gives up a home run to Bryce Harper, 2-1 Phils. So now we're going to go to the bottom of the second inning, where Kyle Harrison is a little bit of trouble again, where he's got the bases loaded and 2 out here. And that will bring up Trey Turner. And Trey is going to rip one into center field. And the rookie center fielder here, Wade Meckler, is going to come in, hit a nice jump, make a nice sliding catch to help the Giants get out of a little jam there. So Harrison still giving up the 2-run homer in the first inning, but through 2, just 2 runs. Hopefully he's going to settle down here. Then we'll go to the 4th inning here. And there was a pretty wild play here in the top of the 4th inning. Taijuan Walker's on the mound here for the Phillies. And Patrick Bailey's going to line one. It's going to hit Taijuan Walker in the arm, ricochet, and Trey Turner's going to have to dive to make the catch. So a pretty weird play there. A 1-6 line out, I guess, put out for out number 2 in the 4th inning as Patrick Bailey rips one. It hits off of Taijuan Walker's arm. That doesn't look very good. And Trey Turner has to do this kind of awkward dive. As he was moving to his left already, he had to come up and make a dive in to complete the out. So heads up play from Trey Turner, but a weird way to record an out there. But Taijuan Walker would stay in the game. So a tough guy he is, stays in the game, and he gets out of the inning. So we're going to move into the 5th inning now. Top of the 5th inning with runners on 1st and 2nd here for San Francisco. That'll bring up the power-hitting lefty, Jock Peterson. Jock Peterson, he's going to take this low pitch, golfs it out, and he's going to rip it into left center field, and it's going to get past the dive of Johan Rojas and roll all the way to the wall. Thairo Estrada scores easily. So does Wilmer. 2-run double for Jock. 3-2 San Francisco. 5th inning, sorry. So back and forth game. Bryce puts the Phillies up in the 1st. Jock Peterson takes the lead back in the 5th. And now we're going to jump all the way to the bottom of the 9th inning. So the Giants bring in their closer, Camilo Doval, who has been nasty this year. I believe he's tied for the National League lead, if not the league lead in saves. He's been very nasty. He's got that crazy corkscrew kind of wind up and throws like a slinky. His arm looks like it just flies out. And he throws 97, of course, like everyone in the major leagues, every reliever in the major leagues. So he hits Bryson Stott. First batter he faces in the bottom of the 9th inning, Bryson Stott, he hits him in the arm. Next batter, Brandon Marsh, single. Then he records an out. And he gets to face Kyle Schwarber. And instead of facing Kyle Schwarber, he's going to decide he's going to walk him. So they load the bases for Trey Turner. 1 out, bottom of the 9th inning, 1-run ball game. Walk Schwarber to get to Trey. He smokes one. Camilo Doval hits his glove, crosses up the second baseman, and trickles into right field. Allows 2 runs to score, and the Phillies walk off the Giants 4-3. What a finish here. What a game. And Trey Turner, ever since those Philly fans have embraced him, he's been absolutely tearing the cover off the baseball. Rips this ball, almost hits Doval, hits it hard. He gets his glove up just in time, flex off it. If you look at the home plate replay, it looks like this ball was going to go up the middle. The Giants' defense was shaded up the middle a little bit. The second baseman was already running towards the ball to make a catch, step on the bag, game-ending double play. But Doval puts his glove up, hits the top of his glove, crosses up the second baseman. He's got to stop dead in his tracks, try to make a play going to his left as he's running full speed to his right, slips down, tries to dive, ball trickles on by him, 2-run score, walk-off for the Phils. And Trey Turner's first walk-off hit since July of 2019 when he was with the Washington Nationals. So Trey Turner, those Philly fans just brought him back to life. And if him and Harper can do what they do, what they normally do, throughout this last month and a week, month and 2-week-ish period into the postseason, the Phillies are a very, very dangerous team. Very, very dangerous team. All right, so there was our game of the week, and now we'll talk about the MLB standings update. All right, so about a week and a half has gone by since I last talked standings now. So a couple things might have changed. We're going to go to the AL East like we always start with. The Baltimore Orioles. The Baltimore Orioles are the best team in the American League. They have 77 wins. I mean, who would have said that was going to happen before the season? They just swept the A's. I mean, they have 6 wins against the A's this year. They've swept us twice. Not great. 26 run differential in those games. So, I mean, they've just had our number this year. And Gunnar Henderson just went 4 for 4 the other day with a homer, a triple, and 2 doubles at the Coliseum. And he was the first player since David Wright in 2013 to have 2 or more doubles, a triple, and a homer in the same game. And he's the youngest player with 4 extra base hits, youngest Orioles player with 4 extra base hits in one game. Passes the great Cal Ripken. So Gunnar Henderson has been unbelievable this year. And in that game, he went triple, homer, double. So he was a single shy of the cycle, and he just legged out another double. He was like, nah, I don't need a single. Another extra base hit for me. That's cool. And the O's, they just look like they're poised to win this division and just make a run. Like, I think that they're going to be very good this year. They do only have a 2-game lead on Tampa Bay, but Tampa Bay seems to be going on the downslope. Baltimore seems to be going up. So we'll talk about Tampa Bay right now. And so they are 2 games back of Baltimore, but they hold the top AL wildcard spot at the moment. And the whole Wander Franco situation is still ongoing with him and his supposed alleged girlfriends or partners or whatever the heck. So we don't know what's going to happen with him. Don't know if he's going to come back. Don't know if he's going to be proven innocent, guilty. We'll see what happens with that. We're not going to touch that, but right now, they don't have him. So Luke Raley, though, hit an inside-the-park home run this past weekend in San Francisco, took a crazy bounce off the big brick wall in right center field in San Francisco, and it actually bounded off the bricks, hit the top of the wall in center, and then bounced all the way to left center, crossing up Wade Meckler, and it was an easy stand-up inside-the-park home run. And it was a pinch hit. It was the first pinch hit Rays inside-the-park home run in franchise history. And it was the first pitch that Luke Raley saw off the bench. So he's just sitting on the bench. He's like, pinch hit, Luke, you're up. First pitch, inside the park home run. So pretty cool. Pretty cool day for Luke Raley. And since the Rays' inception, since the Rays became a team in 1998, they have 23 inside the park home runs, which is the most in baseball, which is kind of crazy. So since they've been a team, they're just the inside the park team. And right behind Tampa Bay is Toronto. The Blue Jays sitting just outside the wild card spot at the moment. They are right now on August 23rd, a game back of Seattle for that third and final wild card spot in the American League. They have a good team. They have a good roster. Like, they got Matt Chapman. I love Matt Chapman. They have Davis Schneider. He's been good. Brandon Belt, Vladdy, Bo Bichette. They haven't really put together a stretch that's really impressed me. They've just kind of been around. Kind of like the entire, like the Red Sox too. Like the Blue Jays and the Red Sox have kind of been a similar season. So they've been good, but like Seattle is so hot right now, and it looks like Seattle might be the team to beat for them. And I just touched on the Red Sox. The Red Sox are just kind of hanging around. They're 5 games back of a wild card spot, but I mean, it's getting to time. And I don't know if they have the pitching to do it, but their offense is pretty good. And Luis Urias just became the first Red Sox player to hit a grand slam in back-to-back games since Jimmy Fox in 1940. So, back-to-back games with the grand slam for Luis Urias, one of them against the Yankees at Yankee Stadium in a sweep of the Yankees. And speaking of the Yankees, oh my, they're on a 9-game losing streak right now. The first time the Yankees have lost 9 games in a row since 1982. 1982. And they're in jeopardy. If they lose today, they're going to lose their 10th straight game. They haven't lost 10 straight games since 1913. 1913. Was Babe Ruth on the Red Sox? Was Babe Ruth even in the major leagues? I don't even know. Like, 1913 was the last time the Yankees lost 10 games. They might have still been the Highlanders then. Like, what are we talking about here? Jesus. I got too many Yankees bobbleheads going around here for that. So now we'll jump to the National League East. And the Atlanta Braves are just so nasty. And we talked about Nicky Lopez a little bit last episode, and he just continued. Nicky Lopez had 8 RBIs a combined 8 RBIs in his first 2 starts for the Braves, and it was the most by a Braves player in his first 2 starts since RBIs became a stat in 1920. So the best Braves 2 starts, arguably, runs batted in-wise, in the history of the organization by Nicky Lopez. So, I mean, great trade acquisition from them. He really hadn't done that much for Kansas City, but now he comes over to Atlanta, and he's just doing as good as he could because Ozzie Albies is hurt, and he's just filling that void. Unbelievable. That Braves team. I don't know who's going to stop them. I don't know who's going to stop them. I think they're my World Series pick right now because I don't know what pitching staff is going to... First of all, I don't know what pitching staff is going to hold down that offense, and I don't know what offense is going to out-hit them. They're on pace for 314 homers. That's the most, it would be the most ever. They're like right now, they're on pace to break the MLB record for homers. They just swept the Yankees for the first time in a series ever. Marcell Ozuna became the 5th Brave this year with 25 or more home runs, most in franchise history. And last night, Eddie Rosario became the 7th Brave this year to hit at least 20 homers. And the Braves got 7 players with 20 home runs in 125 games. That is the shortest amount of games that any team ever has gotten 7 players to hit 20 home runs. Like, this Braves team is just unheard of. Like, it's ridiculously good. It's unheard of. There's nothing else I can say about them. They're just going to be an absolute menace in the National League for anyone who comes across them. Talked about the Phillies a little bit earlier with their crazy game yesterday. Trey Turner, he had that walk-off hit last night in a game earlier this week against the Nationals. It was tied 3-3 going into, I believe, the 8th inning. Trey Turner comes up, leads off the inning with a home run, right? The Phillies proceed to bat around the entire order. Trey Turner comes up again and homers again in the same inning. 2 homers in the same inning for Trey Turner. I believe it was an 8-run inning in total for the Phillies. And Trey Turner became the first Philly to hit 2 home runs in the same inning since Von Hayes in 1985. And he was the first player in major leagues to hit 2 home runs off the same pitcher in the same inning since Big Papi, David Ortiz, in 2008. 2 homers off the same pitcher in the same inning. Why is this dude getting let to hang out to dry for 8 innings in the 8th inning in a tie ball game? 3-3 game. Gives up 8 runs in the same inning, and you just leave him out there? What? That's crazy. And in that game, the Phillies hit 4 or more homers and 2 or more triples. So it was the first time they hit 4 or more homers and 2 or more triples in a game since September of 2006. And one of the homers in that game was a Bryce Harper inside the park home run. So Phillies look good, still looking great from last year. They've carried that postseason momentum last year, and I mean the start of the season maybe wasn't as great as Philly fans thought, but it turned around quick, and they've been very consistent ever since. So now we're back in South Florida. Talk about the Miami Marlins a little bit. And the Marlins, as of right now, there are 1 game out of the National League wild card, the last spot for the National League wild card. But that National League wild card is absolutely it's just a cluster of teams. So many teams are available or are alive right now and are able to make the playoffs in the National League. It's kind of insane. The Marlins played a series against Houston this past week, and in a game, 2 of these home runs, they had 3 straight homers for the second time in franchise history. And 2 of those home runs were against Framber Valdez, who has been one of the best pitchers in the major leagues this year. Threw a no-hitter, been very good. So, second time in franchise history, 3 straight home runs. And Yuri Perez, who's been the best pitcher on this Marlins staff this year. I saw him pitch earlier this year. He's younger than me. I was born in 2001. Yuri Perez was born in 2003. Just think about that for a second. I'm sitting here talking about him, and he's pitching for the Marlins. Yeah. So at 20 years old and 126 days, Yuri Perez became the youngest pitcher since Felix Hernandez, who was 19 and 129 days, to record double-digit strikeouts. So his first career double-digit strikeout game, 20 years and 126 days. He can't even celebrate that by going out to the bar and having a drink with his friends or the team. Jeez, that's insane. And Josh Bell, he's got 7 homers in his first 18 games as a Marlin, which ties Charles Johnson in 2001 for the most in the team's first 18 games. So Josh Bell has been a very good acquisition at the trade deadline for Miami. He became the first Marlin player to hit a home run from both sides of the plate. He's got 7 homers in his first 18 games, and they're looking to continue to get some offensive production from him as the season comes to an end. And the Mets, okay. This is an insane stat. I was looking at standings. I'm looking at standings right now. The Mets are closer to a playoff spot right now than the Yankees are. Right now, as I'm speaking right now, the Mets are 7 games out of a wild card spot. I mean, that's not good, but I don't know. The Mets literally just sold away every player that they have. They're only 7 games out of a wild card spot. The Yankees are 10.5. 10.5. I've been talking about the Angels, how they've been botching the season. They're 10. So they're worse than them. Jeez. But the Braves, the Mets beat the Braves once this week. They didn't win the series, but they beat them one time. That's got to count for something for the Mets. And in every season of Pete Alonso's career, except for the COVID year, Pete Alonso has 35 or more home runs. Let me say that again. Pete Alonso has 35 or more homers in every season he's played in the major leagues, except for 2020, when there were 60 games in the season. Whoa. And the Nationals, I'll say it again, I'll say it every week. The Washington Nationals are the MLB's best last-place team. And that's all I got about it. AL Central. Oh, man. The Twins, I say the same thing every week. I don't know what to say about them. I really don't. Like, Dallas Keuchel took a perfect game into the 7th the other day, and then they'll lose to the White Sox in a series. And then they'll hit 5 home runs in a game, and then they'll lose to the Royals. And then they'll walk off a game, and then they'll blow a game to the A's. Even though I don't even know if we've played them yet. But, they probably would, dude. But I don't even know what to say. But they're probably going to we're going to win the division by default, probably, because Cleveland, they're slipping away. There's no way. They just lost the series, I believe, to Detroit. And the Tigers are just sitting in the middle, sabotaging Cleveland and paving the way for the easiest postseason appearance in the history of baseball for the Twins. The White Sox are Squid Jones. All right? The White Sox are Squidward Tents. And that's all I have to say about them. There's really nothing else that I can say about them. So the Royals, they're the Royals. The A's just beat them twice. Brent Rooker with the walk-off binger piece to get the win in the first game of the series. And in that, I'll get to it when we talk about the A's. This was hilarious. So the Royals, they're just as bad as the A's. We just won the series. We're looking for a sweep of them. But Bobby Witt is unbelievable. Bobby Witt Jr. is unbelievable. He just became the 5th shortstop in Major League Baseball history with 25 or more homers and 35 or more steals in one season. So he is so good and just going to continue to get better. And actually, I talk about the Royals playing the A's right now. Zach Greinke, he's back in Kansas City. He pitched in relief in the Oakland Coliseum against the A's last night for the first time since 2007. I saw him come in, and he was pitching in the 6th or 7th inning, and he only had 37 pitches. And I was like, whoa. Either the A's got even worse since I last watched them, or he's pitching in relief right now. So I did think it was weird, but I didn't realize it was the first time since 2007. That's insane. 15 years ago. So AL Central, worst division in baseball. I don't even know. National League Central, the Brewers still leading that. They've been playing better recently. They've been more consistent. I've been talking about how they had a chance to distance themselves when the Reds weren't playing good. They didn't really do that, but they're playing well now. But the Cubs have been very good, and they have the 2nd NL wildcard spot now. They're still very hot. Ever since the break, they've been very good. And Christopher Morel hit a walk-off home run the other night. He hit a walk-off 3-run home run when they were down by 2 against the Chicago White Sox. And I don't know if you saw that. He ripped one over the right center field fence into the basket in Wrigley, and he was sprinting around the bases. He was losing his mind. He ripped off his shirt. Oh, it was hilarious. It was so good to watch. But the Cubs are really good, and it was the first ever come-from-behind walk-off homer in Cubs-White Sox history. Crosstown rivalry. I guess the interleague play is different now. They play more often, so I guess that's bound to happen. That was bound to happen soon. But, that's a crosstown rivalry. I'm kind of surprised that had never happened before. Cincinnati Reds, my prediction, for the NL Central. They've been playing a little bit better recently, but I mean, I think this team has the future. You know, they're young, they have time. But they have a massive, 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 massive series coming up this week against Arizona. They are a half game back of Arizona for that last NL wildcard spot. So they could still make the playoffs here. Not looking too great for the division, but they are right there, half a game back of Arizona, and they start to play them. I think they play them tonight. Maybe tomorrow. I think it might be an off day for Arizona. I don't know about for the Cincinnati, for the Reds. But they start a series this week, and that's going to be a massive series for that NL wildcard race. It's going to be fun to watch. And the Pirates, talk about the Pirates real quick. Andrew McCutchen last night hit his 299th career home run. So one away from 300 from Kutch. Can't wait to see that. So 2,000 hits and 300 home runs in his career. That's pretty good. Kutch, he's got an MVP under the belt. I've always loved that guy. I got to get to Pittsburgh, man. I'm a bum for that. Kutch, I need to get there, bro. Not the Cardinals, Jones. Every week I say they're Jones. But Nolan Arenado just became the 10th third baseman in MLB history with 8 seasons or more with 25 or more homers. So Nolan, being Nolan, still doing what he does. Very good, but the Cardinals are not good anymore. Very weird. Very weird to see. And we'll jump into the American League West. And I talked about it a little bit earlier, but this division has gotten insanely tight over the last 2 to 3 weeks. It's always been tight with Rangers and Houston, but Seattle has inserted them into the thick of this race right at the end. So the Rangers still holding the top. I believe they're ahead of Houston by only a half of a game. Yeah, half a game lead on Houston. Max Scherzer just passed Hall of Famer Phil Niekro for 11th place on the MLB's all-time strikeout list with 3,344. So Max Scherzer about to crack the top 10. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. That's crazy. About to be top 10 all-time strikeouts. But Houston is only a half game back of them. And they've just been sitting right on the tail of Texas for the past, 2 months, really. Like, for real. Even when they didn't have Yordan, Houston was playing good. So this race is going to be insanely fun, especially now that Seattle is only a half game back of Houston now. So all 3 of these teams I just mentioned, are within a game of each other. Going to be insane. This NL West or AL West race is going to be unbelievable. And Julío Rodríguez just became the second player in MLB history to have 20 or more home runs and 20 or more steals in each of his first 2 seasons. And so he did this last year, and he just did it again this year. He just became the second player to ever do it. You know who the other player is? Bobby Witt Jr., who also did it for the first time last year and did it again this year. So the first time ever that anybody ever has had 2 seasons in a row to start a career with 20 or more homers and 20 or more steals was a guy that started playing the same year, 2020, and the second year, 2023. Crazy. So now we'll jump to the bottom 2 teams in this division. The Angels. The Angels. Bobby, what's happening, dude? Oh my God, they're so bones. They're 10 games back of a wild card spot. They got Mike Trout back last night, but what does that even mean? 10 games back of a wild card spot with a month to go. That's almost impossible. Especially with the new schedule, with everyone playing everybody. You don't even have the opportunity really to make up ground against your division or against the teams you really need to. But we're back in South Florida. We're talking about the Los Angeles Angels, so we got to talk about Nolan Shanuel, South Florida guy. Went to FAU, Florida Atlantic University. Nick Adams, if you ever see this video, your boy. Nolan Shanuel made his major league debut last weekend for the Los Angeles Angels. He got drafted this year in the first round. He got drafted this year's draft, 2023 draft. Nolan Shanuel became the first position player to debut in his draft season before September since 1978. And that was Brian Milner with Toronto. Since 1978. Unbelievable. So he's among the fastest position players in the history of the sport to make their debut. It only took him 40 games from the day that he got drafted to the day that he played his first game for the Los Angeles Angels. And he's been the leadoff hitter playing first base in every game he's played, batting ahead of Shohei Ohtani when he first got called up. And now that Mike Trout's back, Nolan Shanuel, Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani is the lineup. Talk about surreal 45 days after you get drafted into the major leagues. And here's the list of the fastest position players to make their debut in Major League history. Number one, the fastest player ever to get called up after they got drafted was Dave Roberts in 1972. One game, or 1 day after. That's what happened after he got drafted. Then Rob Ellis in 1971, 10 games. Bob Horner in 78, 10. Dave Winfield in 73, 14. Brian Milner, who I brought up, 1978, 17. And then Nolan Shanuel this year, 2023, 40 days. Unbelievable. And he became the 12th different player to play first base for the Angels this year, which ties the most in MLB history with last year's 2022 Oakland Athletics. Let's go, baby. So a lot of shifting positions for last year's A's and first base in LA this year. A lot of guys I can think of right now. Brandon Drury, Jared Wolf played a couple games. Hunter Renfroe played a couple games. Stefanik, did he? No. Cabbage played first. A lot of guys. Trey Cabbage. But now we'll jump to my team. The Bashin' A's. Rooted in Oakland for now. And we have to talk about Zach Geloff. Oh my gosh, Zach Geloff. Zach Geloff became the first player in A's franchise history to have 18 extra base hits in his first 26 career games. He's Mr. Extra Base Hit. I've said it before, but he's just continued. And he became the first player in A's history with 20 extra base hits and 20 runs scored through his first 28 career games. And here's the list of players with their most hits in their first 28 career MLB games ever. Most hits in your first 28 games ever. Number 1, Joe DiMaggio in 1936 with 25. Number 2, ever in their first 28 games, Bo Bichette with 22 hits in 2019. Third, Roy Weatherly in 1906 as well with 21. And number 4, Zach Geloff this year, 2023, 20 hits in his first 28 games. And last, Gary Sanchez, 28, also 2015 and 16. Crazy list there. And Geloff became the first A's player with 10 multi-hit games in his first 31 games since Derek Barton in 07-08. And Geloff hit his 9th home run of the year the other night, 9th home run of his career in his first 32 games, and yet again, the fastest in A's franchise history. So Zach Geloff is completely destroying the record book for, I guess, Oakland, Philly, Kansas City A's, just absolutely rewriting the entire thing, putting himself into almost every offensive category for the first month, 2 months of a season, and just unreal. He's been unreal. He's hitting like 280. He's been a second baseman for every game he's played. I don't think he's missed a game yet. He's a tough dude. I like him a lot. So him, Noda, Lawrence Butler, Estier Ruiz, possibly in a couple years, the A's could have a young core. We'll see. Speaking of that, though, I brought it up earlier. They just won 2 games in a row, right? The A's have won 2 games in a row against Kansas City. First game of the series, Brent Rooker hit a walk-off home run in the bottom of the 9th inning. Walk-off 2-run homer to give the A's a 6-4 win. And it just so happened that Zach Bryan was performing in Oakland that night. So Brent Rooker walks it off for the Oakland Athletics with a 2-run home run in the bottom of the 9th. And what does he do after the game? He pulls up right to the Zach Bryan concert with the Kelly Green A's jersey on, gets on stage, and starts singing with Zach Bryan in his uniform right after he hit a walk-off home run, having a great time. That's how you celebrate a walk-off home run right there. You get drunk, and you go on stage with Zach Bryan, and you sing at the concert in your Kelly Green A's jersey. Sounds good to me. Jeez. And last but not least, we'll have our National League West division and the Dodgers, the team of the National League West forever. They're just, Mookie hit his 47th career leadoff home run the other day. This ties Curtis Granderson for the 6th most in MLB history. So Mookie, just unbelievable. Dodgers are unbelievable. They're just so good. I don't know who's going to stop them. They got this division, I think, in the bag. But the D-backs have turned it on a little bit. They were the worst team in baseball for a stretch after the All-Star break. But they've turned it around a little bit. They've jumped the Giants to jump into second place in the National League West. And they have, like I touched on it before when I was talking about Cincinnati, they have a massive, 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 massive series coming up against Cincinnati. And they just won a series against Texas, actually. They had a walk-off, and they had a nice game yesterday where Alek Thomas made that insane catch. And that series was huge for them, puts them 5 games over 500, 4-game win streak, and puts them into the last NL wildcard spot as I speak right now. So this is going to be a massive series for them against Cincinnati, who are only a half game behind them. And the Giants are starting to falter a little bit. They had that crazy game against Philly where they got walked off last night, Trey Turner. They fell out of a playoff spot, and they're behind the Reds now. So the Reds are a half game behind Arizona, so are San Francisco, but the Reds hold the tiebreaker. So the Giants are going to have to figure it out soon because they've been on a little bit of a rough stretch. They've lost 2 in a row. They're 3-7 in their last 10. So shaky stuff in San Francisco. And the Padres are 6 games back of a wild card. Doesn't seem like it's going to happen because they haven't been able to put a stretch together for a week all year. But, I mean, it could happen. It really could. They could just have a good month. So if they have a good September, that could be crazy. But I don't know. I don't really see it right now. But it's always possible when you have 6 All-Stars on your roster, you know, and a possible Cy Young candidate because Snell's been very, very good this year. And the Rockies, they really haven't changed. I really don't know what I can say about that. But hopefully these young stars that they have, like Nolan Jones and Brenton Doyle, they can continue to develop and become stars in the future because, I mean, they're just kind of the same. But, yeah, that's the Rockies. So that'll wrap up our MLB standings update, and that'll be it for this episode. And that's all the time we got. So thanks for listening. This is the new setup. Hope you guys like the new little attire we got going on here. A little bit of baseball, a little bit of football, a little bit of that. So that's all we got. And make sure you follow all the accounts by Valentine Sports Show on Twitter, Instagram. Follow us on YouTube. Subscribe there. Follow the Clips channel. Follow the BV Sports Academy channels on all the same stuff, Twitter, Instagram, all that. And hit up bvsportsacademy.com online if you want to get any more updates on lessons or anything like that. And have a good one. Peace.